Well, the trip's coming to an end and we're headed back home. Been so many amazing sights and so many fun adventures we were able to do on this trip. Even the scenery on the way out is just gorgeous. It was fun dropping down in this canyon as you drop down into Radium Hot Springs in British Columbia. Quite the scene as you exit this slot canyon and can see down towards the town in the valley below. Can't emphasize enough just the joy we've had on this trip and the sights we've seen, the scenery, the wildlife, people that we've met along the way. Just been a thrill of this trip, and it's kind of sweet sorrow to be calling it a trip and heading back home, but all good things come to an end, so I guess I just need to sit down and start planning the next fun adventure to go on. Alright, here we are in downtown Bonners Ferry. We're hoping that the quilt store's open, but things aren't looking good. So this is camp in Bonners Ferry. Hey Gibbs, how are you? Coming to say hi?
Give me a look, what are you doing?
Coming to say hi. Hey, Wally. So this is the fairgrounds, Boundary County Fairgrounds here in Bonners Ferry. Unfortunately, they have suffered some storm damage from a storm that came in, trees down, stuff blown all over the place. They're working on cleanup efforts right now. The nice part is this is free. So it's gonna just a night stop so we can catch some sleep and then head off to Washington tomorrow. This night of camping on the trip, we stayed at Legends Casino in Toppenish, Washington. Not much of a campground, but it was free. Thanks to the casino for allowing the overnight parking. Well, as noted in the earlier video, we had problems with the electrical. We are now back home, and I've dug out the old converter that's not set up for lithium batteries, we're going to reinstall that one because there was nothing wrong with it when I pulled it out other than it would not charge lithium properly. And then I'll have to do some checking because right now we have not got a hold of Lion Energy yet. We're going to see what they say about the batteries, getting them checked because I'm pretty sure the BMS on those is not working properly. We noticed that initially they would not take a charge at all because the BMS, when you push the buttons on the top of the battery, showed they were clear full, though my reliable outside gauge was saying they were like 40% or less of charge. And then weirdly they started charging again, but they seemed to charge and discharge faster than normal, so I know something's still up. So I'm in the process of changing back to the old converter. Once I get that done, we'll just leave it lead acid for now, and I will get a hold of Lion Energy and see where we go from there. Another issue we had after we got back from home is the boards underneath the mattress. There's one board, I'll bring it out here in just a little bit, that is bare wood. It's just plywood and 2x2 framing that sits underneath there, and then the part that raises up sits over the couch. The bare wood had some mold in it when we got home. Our fix, hopefully a good one, we poured bleach on it, rubbed the bleach in, let it dry, then cleaned that up, and then I've put a coat of primer and 2 coats of exterior paint on it so that it's protected and sealed now. And hopefully that will take care of that issue. So here's that spacer board. It's got its primer and 2 coats of paint on it now, so it's sealed, but it was just bare wood on the top as well as the bottom. I had not painted the bottom because that wasn't an issue. We'll get this screwed back in and put the other board on, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Okay, so it's back together. This section here with the wallpapery type finish to it, that did not have any mold stains on it at all. I have cleaned it with a Lysol disinfectant just to make sure, but there was no stains on that. The stains were on the bare wood, and it did transfer a little bit to the mattress, so it's still the cheap mattress that comes with the RV. It's nothing much. We put a 3-inch topper on it. I think what I'm going to do is see how deep it is in the mattress. I might just cut the foam out that is stained and leave it at that for now. Because again, it's the factory mattress, and we've been meaning to replace it, but honestly with the 3-inch foam topper we put on it, it's comfortable enough to sleep in. So we'll be doing that, getting the mattress back in here, because we already have another trip planned now that we're just barely back from Alaska. We have a trip to Belknap Hot Springs and Detroit Lake in the next week. So got to get this stuff fixed and up and running so we can take off again. So here's the bottom of the mattress that had the mold stain. And I know this really isn't a great fix, but I figure it's in the center of the mattress where we normally aren't sleeping. And it's so little and so small, I don't think we're going to notice. But all I did was cut the outside fabric away that was stained with the mold, and then I cut a little bit of the foam pad out, and I don't see any more of the stain left. So I think I got it all. And this mattress is not the best made mattress. Just moving it in and out, I have torn the edges just because of the quality of the mattress. But again, this is the factory mattress that came with the RV, and we're still using it. The 3-inch mattress pad really makes a difference and makes it sleepable. Well, hello everyone. As you can tell, we are back from Alaska. What a trip. That was awesome.
It was amazing.
Would you want to go back?
I would actually. I didn't think I'd want to say that.
I want to go back.
I knew you'd want to go back.
Well, I know what's a topic on a lot of people's minds when it comes to a trip like this is, what did the trip cost? So we're going to go over some of our statistics from the trip and tell you how much we spent here, how much we spent there, And also at the end we might touch on some of our favorite places or things that we did, or places we definitely want to go back to if we ever make it back up there, Lord willing. So to start with, when we first planned this trip, how many miles did I say we were going to drive?
It was like 6,300.
It was 6,500 miles, somewhere in there, that we figured the trip would be. And we kind of went over a little bit on that. We ended up traveling 8,135 miles. But on a good note, over the trip, we got 11.62 miles per gallon out of our truck towing the trailer. So can't really complain about that, can we?
Especially since a lot of it was really up and down. There was, especially in Canada, a lot of mountainous stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're going over the Rockies. All right, you want to tell them how much our gas cost us?
No, I want to ignore that number. We spent $3,356 on gas. That was a lot of money for 2 months. And that is a big portion. That's like half of what we spent on our trip almost.
Yeah, it was really close to half of what we spent on the entire trip.
We expected prices to be higher in Canada for gas. We kind of expected $6-ish a gallon, but it was more like $8 a gallon. So that was kind of, but of course, once you're gone, you have to drive. There's not much else. Not like there's a lot of choices for gas stations. No. In most places, it's that or nothing, or they're the same price.
Yeah, there were some places, according to my owner's manual, yes, I actually read the owner's manual of my truck. I am supposed to run premium fuel. We've got the 3.5 liter EcoBoost in our Ford. And there was a couple of places I was not able to get the premium. We had to get 87 octane. And when you run into a place like that, you really don't have many options. You either get gas or you don't get gas, and you kind of need it, so you have to get it. And some of those, even at the lower octane levels, were quite expensive.
Yes.
And propane, we didn't go through a whole lot of propane. On the way back, we had a hiccup when we had our open neutral, and we happened to carry around a little electric fireplace that Sonia really likes, and we use that a lot for heating. And unfortunately, the open neutral damaged the fireplace as well. So after that, we ended up using a little bit more propane than normal because we were running our furnace more often than we had been. So actually, our propane amount was $83.48. But more of over 50% of that was on the second half of the trip. Not the first half. We actually went through very little propane on the way up. Yeah.
So repairs and maintenance would be next. The big thing for we had our repair. We had to get the frame fixed. That was just over $500. But our total for maintenance, it's oil changes, car washes, and the repair, was $628. That actually isn't bad, I don't think.
No, considering we had a bent frame and they were able to straighten it and weld it back together, and all the oil, well, only one oil change, but all of that was actually,
yeah.
I was expecting more than that just for the frame repair in Whitehorse.
And I had figured, that's the repairs for the trip, but it didn't take care of fixing our electrical problem. And I pointed that out to Keith, but he pointed out to me that it didn't cost us anything to fix it. We still had a lead acid battery with us, which we put on the trailer. And then we swapped back to the old converter when we got home. So other than we might have to replace my little heater fireplace, which we haven't done yet.
Right.
We don't have any cost for that, so that's awesome.
Yes. Now, camping. At the initial stages of planning the trip, I was looking more for boondocking, no hookup, free type campgrounds. And we kind of stepped away from that a little bit more than I had intended. So we stayed at more hookup style campgrounds than I had initially intended. But with Stan and Si with us, it was definitely worthwhile to do that because they were definitely more comfortable camping in places that had better hookups. though they are getting better at boondocking and
they're enjoying it.
They're enjoying it, so that's
Yay.
good. Our camping cost came to $1,181.19, and that's for all of our campgrounds. From we stayed in the resort up in Fairbanks for a night. That was like expensive. $75, $80 by itself, just that one stop. So a lot of places we stayed were state parks or provincial parks that were like $20, maybe $30 a night. So I mean, that was 2 months, and it was just under $1,200. So that really isn't bad for that much camping.
No, and the other thing is, with our electrical issue, we also did more campgrounds than we would have otherwise.
On the way back home, yeah. Because without, so when we had the open neutral, the converter was damaged, so we had to shut the converter off. Without the converter, our 12-volt battery was not getting charged by the converter. But thankfully, I had carried a standard wall outlet plug-in 4-amp battery charger with us. So when we got to campgrounds, on the way home after that, we were looking for ones with electricity so I could plug that charger in to keep our lead acid battery charged for the rest of the trip. And it worked out. We got home. So
it worked out good.
Yes.
I think we should do groceries next. Well, food.
Miscellaneous.
I mean, that should be at the end.
You think that should be at the end?
Miscellaneous. Well, it's like, this is the stuff that doesn't fit into any other category. Mostly when I looked at it, this is actually doing laundry. There's a few other little odds and ends, but miscellaneous, we spent $52.
Yeah. And then events and tours. As you could probably tell from our trip videos, we are not really the big tours type people. I mean, I have my own health issues, and doing something like a airplane tour of Denali National Park, I cannot do that.
I wouldn't get on a plane anyway, so.
But just, we won't get into it, but my health issues prevent that from happening. So we don't do a lot of tours like that. The biggest one by far that was probably most of this cost for our events and tours was our water taxi tour out of Valdez. But all of our tours, this is museum access, all of that was $795. Which again, isn't,
500 of that was the water taxi tour.
But again, we don't do, I mean, the things we enjoyed more was the things that really didn't cost money. So.
Or not much money.
Or not much money, yeah.
I mean, like, it did cost a lot to park at Lake Louise. But
yes. It cost a whole lot to park at Lake Louise.
So food would be next. And I broke this into 2 categories. Eating out, we spent $157. As you can tell, we don't eat out much. That was like 3 total times. And for our groceries, we spent $194. So that's not bad for 2 months.
No. Now, we will put a big caveat on groceries. We spent a lot of time in preparing for this trip. And with the help of Stan and Cy and their freeze dryer, we prepared most of our meals in a freeze-dried, vacuum-sealed bags for most of our meals. So our groceries were minimal.
So actually our grocery is really expensive, considering that was basically just snacks.
Yes, that was pretty much snacks, chips. There are some, fresh vegetables, and I think we bought hamburgers on the trip too. I can't remember. Did we have all the frozen hamburgers?
We might have bought some.
Yeah, so
mostly snacks.
It's mostly snacks and water. We bought a lot of bottled water. So I mean, there is that caveat on there. And then the next category is souvenirs and gifts. I buy a lot of T-shirts for our trips.
Souvenirs.
The one I'm wearing is not from Alaska. It's from Colonial Williamsburg.
Mine's from Maine.
So these are from our
yes,
we should have. These are from our 2021 trip around America. But it shows that we wear these shirts a lot, and it's something we find that is a good souvenir because it's something useful. It's not just a knick-knack sitting on the shelf collecting dust. So it's and I got a really nice embroidered Alaska baseball hat, and these are gifts for our kids too that we bought on the trip. But our gifts came to $637.83.
And then the last category is quilt shops. I figured people might be interested into what I'd actually spent there. I spent a total of $163.65 in quilt shops. So it averaged about $15 a shop. I feel like that's not bad.
Not bad at all. And then the grand total of what we spent on the trip. You got to think this is 2 full months going up to Alaska, enjoying Alaska, and coming back.
I would say a once in a lifetime trip, but I feel like you're going to drag me back there.
Twice or third time in a lifetime.
Something like that.
But the total came to $7,947.96. I mean, when you break it down,
half of that is,
well, almost half of that is gas alone, gas and propane.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go back, I'm looking at some other options. In fact, the next video you see, I'll be opening up a little secret that I've been working on. But my goal is to have all the creature comforts of hookups when you're not hooked up. I like boondocking. I like finding these free dispersed parking areas to camp in, but I also like to have as many
I like creature comforts.
Creature comforts as possible. So I'm looking at on the Tidewoods, which again you'll learn more about in the next video, of putting a decent amount of solar on the roof, a decent lithium battery pack, and the ability to do things more off the road, so that would help our camping, bring our camping costs down. And if it comes together like I hope it will, it'll be smaller and lighter than our R-Pod, so that maybe our gas mileage will increase and our gas costs won't be so much.
You pretty much completely let the cat out of the bag.
I probably did.
You might want to redo that part, if you don't want to tell it this week.
It's all good.
Okay, there you go. There's a big hint for next week.
But being able to do more off-grid, I probably try to do the same thing food-wise, but maybe reduce our snacks a little bit,
yes,
so we're not spending as much on snacks. And if we go back again, one of the things I'm looking at, if someone approves it down the road here, is to have one of those like overlanding style canopy camper things put on the back of the truck, so we're just we're driving the truck, not towing a trailer, but still have the ability to sleep and shower and all the things you need to do with that. And if we do that, I think the cost would be reasonable to look at taking the Alaskan Marine Highway up to Alaska instead of driving through Canada, and then drive and sightsee Alaska from the ports that the Alaska Marine Highway goes into. So that's one idea we've kind of kicked around. If we go back, and again, this is Lord willing, we don't know if we'll ever make it back. And speaking on that, so if you had to pick one location that you would like to go back to, what would that, or I guess you have 2 locations.
2 or maybe 3 or 4. So I loved Valdez. I would love to see it when the weather's nice. It was beautiful with the weather being pretty much socked in, but I can only imagine how beautiful it is when you can actually see all the sights there. We really, really enjoyed it. We loved our water taxi. Mm-hmm. So that was really great. But I also did love seeing the bears at Hyder, Alaska. I mean, that was our first actual get our feet into Alaska.
Yes. And
it was fun seeing the bears. And then I would say kind of 2 other little things. Whitehorse was amazing because that's where we got our trailer fixed, and that's where we saw the Northern Lights, which was my favorite thing ever. And also loved Kalani Lake. So there's my 4 things for my one favorite spot.
As far as number 1 places I would like to go back to, Valdez. I loved Valdez. The water taxi tour was amazing. The scenery was just stunning.
Yeah, I suppose if you were to say we'll drop you in Alaska, You can see one city, and then we're pulling you back out. I would go to Valdez.
Yeah. Now, things that I guess the sites that I saw that are my like number top 3, I guess, because I've kind of narrowed it down to 3, though there's so much of this trip I could talk about. I mean, the sights we saw, the wildlife, the scenery, just, it was mind-blowing. It was awesome. I would love to go back. But if I had to pick my top 3 things we saw, it would be seeing the bears in Hyder. Loved it. Thoroughly enjoyed seeing the bears in Hyder. Going fishing with my cousin Dan out of Homer and catching those halibut. That's probably a once-in-a-lifetime thing. If we ever do get back up there, I would love to meet back up with him and go back out fishing, but I don't know. Lord willing, it'll happen, but it might not. That's probably a once-in-a-lifetime experience there. And then seeing the Northern Lights in Whitehorse. It was amazing. So do you have like your top sites that you saw, or just are those also your places that you've been to?
The Northern Lights was hands down my favorite thing. It was the one thing that I wanted most of all from the trip. And thought at Kulani Lake, we had a beautiful clear day there one day. It was supposed to be a good chance for Northern Lights, and I stayed up to like 3 in the morning waiting to see them and never saw them. And I thought that was it. That was our last chance. It's not going to happen now. And then we saw them at Whitehorse, and it was just incredible. It was so awesome. I loved going to Barkerville again, being able to see that. I don't know if I care about going back anymore, but it was so much fun to be able to do that and to do the gold panning.
See, that's the problem.
I know.
You sit there and think
so
about
much.
the trip, and you think of so many things that you saw that it's like.
I loved going to the quilt shops. I mean, I love visiting quilt shops anyway, but it was fun seeing ones that were just so northern hemisphere focused. You know, Alaska or Canada. Very different than what you see at most other quilt shops. So that was really a fun experience. And it was a lot of fun to share this with Stan and Cy.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a blast.
Yeah, there's so many things going through my head. Oh, there was this and there was that.
And
it was
we could talk
wonderful,
forever. We need to
wonderful
stop.
trip. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our Alaska adventures, and we hope to get out there on another adventure here soon. And
thank you for all the lovely comments that people have made about sharing our trip.
Yes.
That's been awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.